Well, we all paid $787 billion in taxpayer cash for that massive stimulus package that was supposed to create jobs. Turns out the National Endowment for the Arts is getting a rather big slice of the pie, and it is going to things like the arts. Okay, National Endowment of the Arts. But wait until you see what the arts are. The theater presenting, wait for it, Perverts Put Out. You get the idea just from this title and picture your taxpayer dollars hard at work. $50,000 of public money going to another theater that promises this movie called Thundercrack. It is so offensive, we could barely find anything in the trailer that was suitable to put on TV, and we definitely cannot air the audio, which is not anywhere near close to PG-13. You're paying for it, folks. So what else is the NEA doing with your money, and how is this creating jobs? Congressman Cliff Stearns is a Republican from Florida. I should point out he is a longtime critic of the NEA. Congressman, I assume it's because of things like this.
For sure. They have a long history of offensive, indecent art. We were successful in cutting back their funding, but now under the Democrat majority, that funding has increased dramatically. It's up to $190 million. And for them to get a $50 million grant through the stimulus package and use this for hundreds and hundreds of earmarks for the not-for-profit organization, particularly in San Francisco, where that offensive and indecent art is being displayed both in public houses, in live performances, as well as in movies. These aren't just kinky movies. These are horror movies involving animals, and the reprehensibleness of the National Endowment for the Arts for doing this cannot even be emphasized strong enough, because their history has shown, and they have told us they'll stop this thing, and to see them using taxpayers' money today to continue this offensive art is just outrageous.
Now, our viewers should know the congressman does not overstate the case in terms of what the money is going toward. That one video that I showed you that we couldn't play the sound on, that $25,000 of taxpayer money went to the San Francisco Cinematheque. That was, and that's the place where they're putting on this film, Thundercrack, which we can't show you. But this is how they describe it. Kinky art porno horror film, complete with 4 men, 3 women, and a gorilla. Ecstasy so great that all heaven and hell becomes just one big ol' Shangri-La. That's what $25,000 of our taxpayer money is paying for. Then there's another 25 grand going to Jess Curtis / Gravity Inc. in San Francisco for the Symmetry Project, where nude couples are mounted on each other in various poses, and in the first pictures, nude children are present with nude adults. I think a lot of Americans would have a real problem knowing that their taxpayer dollars that they worked very hard for are now being funneled to support such causes. What can be done?
Well, lots of things can be done. We can reduce the NEA funding, attempt to do it again. You know, all these projects are in Speaker Pelosi's district. I think one thing we should also do is have letters written to Pelosi, which I intend to do, and also try and get members on the Democrat side, particularly the Blue Dogs who are involved now with health care, to consider some of the antithetical projects that are being funded in Speaker Pelosi's district and try and curb the NEA from continuing to award these type of offensive and decent funding to these organizations.
And what happens, Congressman, with respect to Vice President Joe Biden? He was supposed to be overseeing this whole thing. President Obama promised us that he would oversee. In fact, here's what the president said about who'd be watching the stimulus dollars.
That's why I've asked Vice President Biden to lead a tough, unprecedented oversight effort, because nobody messes with Joe.
There you have it. The president, Joe Biden, and Nancy Pelosi, who you just mentioned, yay, nobody messes with Joe. He's going to watch the stimulus dollars. Congressman, is anybody watching these stimulus dollars? You know, does anyone care? Is there any sort of moral component to where they go and where they don't go?
There appears none. And I think Joe Biden is not the one to watch it. He has a lot of different engagements, and he's involved with foreign policy. This oversight is a joke. If the president thinks Joe Biden is going to watch this oversight, it's a tremendous joke on the president, and I think he'd be very foolish to continue to have these kinds of projects continue to be funded They're not only antithetical to American values, but they're reprehensible, and I think any American that would realize that his tax dollars are going into San Francisco for those projects would be outraged.
You know, the NEA has come out and defended its choice, saying we just gave the money to individuals and groups that had already received funding in the past and already passed muster, and they said these did help save jobs for artists in the San Francisco area, which it does promote the stimulus plan. In other words, jobs were saved. I'll give you the final word, sir.
Well, we don't want to promote jobs in kinky horror film, pornographic live performances. That's not the purpose of the stimulus package. We're looking at long-term, lasting jobs and not funding groups that are really destroying the culture of this country.
Congressman Cliff Stearns, thanks so much for coming on with your insights on it. We appreciate it.
That's why I've asked Vice President Biden to lead a tough, unprecedented oversight effort, because nobody messes with Joe.